just a little boy, I asked my father, what will I be? Will I be handsome? Will I be rich? Is what he said to me. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. What will be, will be.
Hello, everybody. This is Alicia and Liz, and we are the Decoded TV network, and this is From Decoded. And today we're going to take a deep dive into From Season 2, Episode 7, titled Belly of the Beast, directed by Jack Bender. Again.
Another Bender.
I think it is. I should probably double check that.
Yeah.
If not, this is Season 2, Episode 4, entitled Belly of the Beast.
Period.
So post episode 6, where we have this big moment of Boyd potentially killing the monster.
Yeah.
We pick up pretty much where we left off. How did you feel about the episode?
It was good. I've heard rumblings that it wasn't, the most exciting episode. I've heard people talking about it being a filler episode. I agree in that it wasn't as exciting as last week's. There wasn't as much action, but I feel like we got a lot of important information. Was that your takeaway?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. There was a lot of little things to think about. And I also keep trying to, think back to the little video that Elizabeth Saunders made where she was saying, the answers are there.
Yeah.
And you may not know it yet. So as I was watching this time, I think I kind of also was trying to look at it through that lens, which I know it can sometimes also be, when you look at it that way, then you kind of go maybe the other way in terms of over analyzing and over theorizing. But,
Right.
I also think that's the fun of shows like this. So it's part of why we like them. Yeah.
Definitely.
So Belly of the Beast is the title, which obviously a direct reference to them cutting your Smiley open.
Yeah. Oh, you were lost on that point. I thought you didn't know where the title came from.
Oh, no. Mm-mm.
Real world, like Jonah and the whale.
Yes.
You're like, oh, I got that.
No, I didn't get that either. So.
Oh.
So what did you think about the title?
The obvious one, the autopsy of Smiley, right? Then I thought about Fatima, another obvious one.
Oh, true. Yeah.
A little baby in her belly. She's hardly a beast. The belly of the beast means to be right in the middle, at like the thick of it. In the worst of something, worst of the worst. So, and because the belly being the place in the body where we digest food, it's right at the center. All right. So I thought about Marielle being in the worst of her withdrawal. Oh, last one. You can almost look at Colony House as being the belly of the beast.
Ooh.
Where shit keeps happening.
That is true.
Ellis and Fatima going back into the belly of the beast.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? And the fact that Jim nor Tabitha want their kids in that house.
Yeah. That's a really great point. And you saying that also kind of further something else I think that we can explore when we start talking about Donna and a potential mole and stuff like that, because that's a really good point. And I've been thinking to myself, like, I wonder if there is a reasoning behind Colony House being there and the separation and what's, is there something specifically different going on there to have all of these people in this one place? So excellent. Well, that's great. And you went way beyond anything I was thinking about on that title. And those are really awesome examples. I love that. I love how you think about the title that way, because it really does tie into all of those things. So that's really cool.
Thank you.
Okay, so this episode opened with Fatima being pregnant, and then we'll discuss that more in a bit, but we move very quickly to everybody going outside, and Mr. Smiley is still inactive or immobile, dead, whatever we think it is. So they believe Boyd successfully killed it. So I wanted to first talk about that sort of discussion and then move into discussing the autopsy. So we get this really interesting debate outside. And I said, we've got Team Kenny and Team Boyd and Christy.
Me too.
And so how did you feel about that? What would you have done in that situation? Or what would you have, what team would you have been on?
I think I would have been on Team Christy and Boyd,
Mm-hmm.
wanting information.
Yeah.
But I would give heed to Kenny's concerns.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would say, let's strap it to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Let's, cut off its hands or
something.
head. Something. I don't know. But yeah, I would keep a fail safe there.
Yeah. I think that was looking at Reddit. I think that was probably the main sort of criticism of the autopsy and the way they went about it, was just that they didn't really do a heck of a lot to protect themselves in the event that something happened. And I think really that's what Kenny was trying to get them to understand.
Yeah. I mean, we later learned there's more to his concerns, but
right.
Yeah, and could they even lock that door from the outside?
Yeah, who knows?
Seems kind of basic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I know the defense of that criticism is also that we've seen what those monsters are capable of. So it's unlikely that anything like that would keep it from, doing whatever it's going to do. But I figure at least you can slow them down.
Well, I mean, what's he going to do? Knock on the door and say, "Hey, let me out.
Let me out.
Play?"
Right.
Who knows?
Yeah. But, I think that ultimately Christy and Boyd, as scared as they would be in that situation, they were right about wanting to learn about it.
They're both feeling kind of like, I'm at the end of my rope. I just want fuck all with safety.
Yeah.
I want to do this. Maybe not thinking about those around them, being a little more self-centered. And was Mari there in that discussion, or was she off?
She was there. She was there.
I noticed that Mari just seemed to kind of be hanging back, hanging behind, not really saying much.
Which, I mean, if she's starting to withdraw,
I just thought it
makes sense.
We should talk about this later, but I just thought that her portrayal of withdrawal was a little weird.
I
keep my head down, and that's me being in withdrawal.
Yeah. I mean, I think it depends on like what stage you're into.
Right. He's staring at Mr. Smiley. And at one point, Boyd's like, "Elgin, you with us?"
Yeah. You okay, dude? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we can talk about that more later. But yeah, I was more bothered by how quiet Elgin was being.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out why he was, being so quiet. Because like it made sense to me why Mari might be that way, especially because she's going through this tense thing with Christy as well, and so that's on her mind. But Elgin looked extremely spooked by all of it. And later on, he expresses some of his thoughts and concerns to Julie, which we can discuss when we get there. But yeah, he was being quite quiet. So yeah, so they look at him and they decide, okay, we're going to carry him inside. And, they get a sheet and some sticks.
Mary says, "I'll grab a sheet. I'll grab some sticks." And I'm like, "Sticks? What?"
Sticks? I know. I thought that too. I'm like, seriously?
I think I keep waiting for Mari to Mary. Is it Mari or Mary?
It's Marielle is her name. So I'm thinking it's Mary. Yeah.
I'm still in Yellow Jacket land with Mari.
Yeah.
I think Mary is deferring to Christy, and I keep waiting for her to step up and be like, "I'm a nurse.
Yeah.
I've got some knowledge."
Yeah.
But instead she's on stick duty.
Yeah. And I'm sure she's feeling a bit,
I know,
ashamed or embarrassed or unsure of like what the boundaries are right now, given.
That's a good answer, because I just keep thinking you've got this amazing resource in a nurse, in another medical professional.
Right.
Step up.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think boundaries is a great way to explain that behavior.
Yeah. And this isn't, I've been here a couple days or however long it's been. And she's obviously been here a lot longer, and they all have, and they trust her. And I don't know what I can and, can't say, or I don't know how much Christy would want me to say. Yeah. I don't want to step on her toes.
Right. All right. That's a good way. I think we're meant to think that Elgin is staring at Mr. Smiley because he's so spooked.
Right.
This monster he's seeing kind of for the first time.
Right.
And that's where his mind is.
Yeah. And, he's feeling like he's trying to remember something. There's something about this, I think, that feels familiar, as he later discusses, and he just can't quite put his finger on it. So yeah, he knew he was afraid, but it was like, it felt deeper than just, I've been here and seen this happen now, once or twice. Like, it just felt like it went deeper than that, for sure.
Oh yeah.
So they bring him in, and don't strap him down. But of course, they go back and forth on their plan of action, and then they just get some gardening gloves and a saw.
Right. Well, they were the only gloves they had.
Yeah,
I mean, work with what you got.
It's like, let's go full Dexter here. So she goes to make the first cut, and Mr. Smiley like turns his head towards her, and she says, they freak out naturally, and she says that, she probably hit a nerve. And I don't know, like, do you think that that's what it was?
Yeah, I think we're meant to think it was like a reflex.
Okay.
I think that's how she explains it, right?
Yeah.
It's just
I just didn't know if it was possible.
But how would you know, Christy?
Yeah.
I think she's so focused on getting answers
Mm-hmm.
that she's just gonna, blow off any or a lot of signs.
Exactly. And that was my feeling on it, was like, ooh, that's a pretty big bet when you don't actually know.
Right? Dangerous tunnel vision.
Yeah. But it was a great little jump scare moment.
It was.
That. Yeah.
It was, because it looked like he did a roar.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like that, it looked that way. His mouth, I think, was already kind of open, but the way that it turned and the way they did that, yeah, it looked like he was about to
Yeah.
Arg. He's a pirate. Arg.
Arg. I don't know if we mentioned this or not, but the way that Mr. Smiley, quote, died, unquote, it was like he was in his human form.
Right.
And then he went into the form that we see when they attack.
Mm-hmm.
And now he looks like he's kind of stuck in attack mode,
mm-hmm.
with the mouth open, the teeth out.
Mm-hmm.
But it's similar to what we saw when the monsters are asleep, to that kind of mummified look.
Yep, I agree.
Okay.
Which is why I was so just not buying into the fact that, plus these aren't living, well, so far as we know, these are not living beings, technically.
Well, that's my point.
Yeah.
If they're not living, how do we know that they can die?
Right, exactly. Like to refer to it as them dying is really just an assumption based on what our knowledge is of, there's life and there's death.
It's a pretty big leap.
It is. Exactly. It's a very big leap, especially when you take into consideration everything that everyone has seen and they know that,
Oh, you mean all the attacks?
Yeah. Well, and just in general, like all of everybody's knowledge about how wackadoodle this place is.
Yeah.
to assume.
As Donna later points out to Fatima.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we've seen the impossible. What did you think about the insides?
Well, it's what I think I theorized 2 weeks ago, or after we saw them in the tunnels. I said they look like they're mummified.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what Christy is saying. They're all dried up. They look like something that you'd see in a museum. And I think that's what she meant by mummies.
And good on you. Yay.
And good on me. Yay, I win.
You win. I agree. It was crazy to see too,
I know.
This sort of all of these dried up organs like that. It made it made me really wonder what on earth is going on.
I know. Props to the makeup special effects department.
Yeah, for real.
For how they made that torso.
Yeah.
And you could take off the rib cage and this is where the heart would be, where the lungs would be, but it's all dried up. Yeah,
that was so cool. And a lot of times in like horror movies and shows like this, you don't actually ever really get a close up of the monster, because part of the scary mysterious nature is just sort of glimpses of things. So I found it really exciting to get to like look close up at what one of them really looks like.
It reminded me of an alien autopsy.
Mm-hmm.
Just before something jumps out and attacks.
Exactly.
But no, it was very cool. Like you were saying, we don't get to see the inner workings of monsters, or people don't get to investigate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wish they'd been able to find something that explained how they could morph from alive looking to attack mode.
Yeah.
Oh, how interesting. You press on this, area of the throat and the teeth recede, or,
Yeah. And I think all of that probably plays into what is actually happening with the greater mystery of the show in general. Yeah. I feel like this is their natural state. And so when they turn into, at night looking like actual people, that's sort of like the costume.
Right.
So to speak.
Yeah, that's one of their tools, weapons of prey, I should say.
Yes. And so, and we brought up last episode, like, how in the heck can the blood poison him if he has no blood coursing through his veins? Like, we said that at the end of episode 6, and now we're
Yeah.
sort of addressing that right away here.
Right. And Boyd kind of waves his hand over it and says, we have liquid. Like,
yeah,
as long as we've got liquid to work with, I think he's assuming any liquid can carry the worm, can host the worms.
right. Which we
But
didn't really
again-
know, because we were calling them blood worms, but it looks like that's not necessarily the case.
Bodily fluid worms.
Right. Yeah.
But again, that's like 5 leaps,
Exactly. Yeah.
because bile,
Right.
which is produced by the gallbladder, was used to break down food for digestion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we learned with Pull in the Head Girl that they may not be eating for nutrition or out of
Right.
necessity. It may just be gore
Mhm.
and upping the fear factor.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's highly likely. Also,
So
because it's not like we saw anything to indicate that they had been fed. Somebody said, or maybe it was you last week when we were talking about it. It was like, what are they actually doing? We see their insides ripped out, but like, what are they doing? What are they eating? What are they eating? Are they eating organs? Are they drinking blood? Like, what is it that they're ingesting? Or like you just said, is it just about tearing somebody apart and killing them that way?
Yeah, when we talked about this, I think it was our conversation, because I remember theorizing that maybe they go for the guts because that's scarier.
Mm-hmm.
Someone
Right.
seeing their insides on the outside.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it would make for a lot of gore.
And definitely be traumatizing.
That's the point. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it would cause a lot of bloodletting, and it's just kind of the messiest way to kill someone, which would be the scariest, right?
Right. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Especially if they're playing with you and it's sort of a slow death. I mean, oof,
Exactly.
God. Yeah. So yeah, they do this, and Christy gets upset and frustrated, and she starts just kind of stabbing into that body, which, I mean,
previously she and Boyd have a little conversation, and she's talking about why this is so important to her, and she's talking about Mary and not seeing that Mary was in withdrawal, and she blames herself but also the town for distracting her.
Yes,
and
you're right.
I think that's where a lot of this anger is coming from, that I missed something big with my partner. This can't be for nothing. And I'm not gonna let it.
Yeah,
And
I
then
agree.
she goes ballistic.
Yeah. And, I don't know. I did think that was a bit much. I felt like a way to get to the bile, that they didn't necessarily need to do. I mean, because if I were her, I would have taken some of the other stuff out to look further.
I wrote poor exposition.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I felt that way. Yeah. But we got bile, and
we have liquids.
We have liquid and
we got liquid.
A little potion bottle that happened to be lying around.
Yeah. Maybe Mary dropped it off.
Yeah, maybe. And there you go.
But Kenny was so worried about the worms.
He was, yes.
That was his big fear. I don't think it was really that Smiley would come to life. It was that you or I or Boyd will become contaminated by.
Right.
That we're going to let it loose.
I'm glad you said that. That's actually a great transition into talking about what does that actually mean. And so, like, after this autopsy is complete, Mary has that dream hallucination with the music box, and Elgin does as well later.
It's in between. So the autopsy is in 2 parts.
Right.
And it's in the middle.
It's in the middle. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Regardless, I found it interesting that they both had the music box hallucination dream after having interacted with Boyd as well as Mr. Smiley.
Yes.
And so my mind went to thinking, like, well, if they're having that, does that mean that they got infected somehow anyway, just by being around it? I don't know. It was, we see immediately people that have interacted with Mr. Smiley after the bloodworm incident have similar hallucinations to Boyd. So Kenny's fear might not be totally unfounded.
Supposedly.
Right.
But what's also emphasized is...
But of course, we didn't see any worms, so...
I was going to say, I don't understand transmission, because...
Right.
They establish the importance of my blood is your
Exactly.
blood now,
Hmm.
that you've got to say these words. When Martin's up in the tower, he says, they're coming. You have to get out before the music stops.
Yes.
And yeah, then goes on to say, when the music stops, that's when the bad stuff happens. So I'm wondering if it isn't just the blood or the blood worms, but something about the music that Boyd unleashed it, or by Boyd returning from interacting with Martin and the tower, because Boyd sees the music box first.
Right.
And if maybe him coming back out of that tower and back to town, if he didn't bring some new kind of set of, I don't know, Fremsville weapons or.
Yeah. Because that's what I'm feeling. I just felt like, maybe this isn't just that, maybe it's spreading a different way. And he brought that back. That's a great observation.
Well, let's look at how more and more people are having the music box vision and they're hearing it.
Yeah.
While we've also got these other characters that are having like spreading hallucinations.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like
and other
Tabitha. Yeah, there seems to be some sort of a spread occurring.
Right. And Mary says, your friend Boyd is giving me his nightmares, which I thought was an interesting way to say that, and kind of reinforces that potential theory, I guess. Yeah. That it's passing on in a different way.
I would also, I bet if Jim were here, Jim would say, well, they're just upping the experiment.
Yeah.
We're at a new stage. They're tightening the vice.
And then the other part of that is looking at whoever that is, are they preying on people that are also in a weakened state health-wise, like physically, in addition to, because we've talked about maybe people who are more psychologically susceptible, but now I'm wondering, is it also people that might be in a weakened physical state? Mary was going through withdrawal. Boyd has Parkinson's. I think that's what it is, right?
Yeah, Jade being drunk and hungover all the time.
Yeah, people that are not in physically the strong condition that they could be, and so that makes them more susceptible. So that was something else I was thinking.
That's a really good theory. I like that. How did they end it on that note?
I don't know.
And now we take him out back and we chop off its head and burn the body.
Like, what the heck?
Just to avoid. So why do you think Boyd was so intent on it being a secret? Chaos and
I think so. Look at our own government. I think it's pretty evident that there are probably many things that they keep hidden from the American public.
Yeah.
To keep mass panic from occurring when it's not necessary. So I think it's probably that perspective. And the fact that he's a military trained person, that might be a little bit more in his leadership training and mindset.
Right. That's just an instinctive thing to go to. We keep it under wraps.
Right. And because, he's like, look, we don't know what to do with it. We don't know whatever. And next thing you know, everybody wants to see it, or then they're scared. You know what I mean? I think he just wants to feel like they have more information and or a plan of action before it at least made it a little bit more interesting to watch these different people like cross into other people's stories and begin comparing notes.
In different character atmospheres.
Yeah. The other thing that drove me crazy was at the end of the like when Boyd was walking Kenny out and Kenny left and everybody else finds out.
There'd be people picketing. Burn it.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody breaks in and tries to do it. Like there's probably a bunch of things that could go awry.
Good point. I'll accept that.
But hopefully, my hope is that it doesn't stay secret for long. It would be really nice for them to have some kind of town hall meeting of some kind to discuss these things.
Communication.
Communication. Which is what one of the funny things about this episode too, is that we did get a lot of communication, and it was sort of with these unlikely pairings. Which I thought was kind of cool and an interesting way to approach something that was kind of heavier on exposition. He's, kind of anxious, I think, and he's wanting to, extend that invitation further
Yeah.
to Kenny, like, hey, if you want to come back on board as my deputy, that's cool.
Yeah.
But he was slinging that darn bottle around and like tossing it in the air. And I'm like, boy, what are you doing? Stop.
No
It could be
wonder
because
Kenny
I'm
cried.
so clumsy. Like, I'm such a clumsy person that I would drop that shit in like an instant. I know I would.
It's goddamn common sense.
Like, come on, man.
I
Why
think
are you
Boyd was
just
so happy. He was so happy for the win.
He was.
Gotta
He really
celebrate.
was. I did feel like, and I really love how Boyd is, I think, sort of eternally optimistic. And he's really good at also calming people down. And he did it with Fatima in the last episode, and he did it with Christy in this episode. And
Really good at doing is gassing people up. You know, like
right.
Chris did a great job. Fatima, that was awesome the way you got my son here. I can see how hard he worked. You know, he's good at giving props.
Right. Yes.
And they're due and needed.
Right.
I think.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, that's the autopsy. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up as well?
Just mainly, I mean, Christy says these monsters don't appear to be alive, but also declares them dead, which I guess is the same thing, but I'm just so worried about what's going to happen.
I know, me too. Yeah.
Well, you know, maybe proximity to the monsters is what's causing the music box.
Right. Exactly. I think that's possible. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So I want to move on to talking briefly about Jim and Randall. And I wanted to talk about them next because Randall presents a very interesting point that I hadn't really thought about at all until he said it. So
that Jim might be a pedo.
Yes.
I want to show you something.
Liz. That's exactly it.
I want to show you something really cool. I've got a puppy over here.
Come here. Got some candy.
Candy too. Yeah.
Yes, that. And what the heck was that comment? Like, what a weird.
Where did that come from?
Where did it come from? Like, I don't know. That was just weird to me.
We get that you don't like people.
Yeah.
That you're abrasive, but
yeah. Like, come on, dude.
Out of left field.
Yeah.
What?
But yeah, Jim and Tabitha have this conversation that's a bit tense because they're just not on the same page.
At all.
At all. Yeah. And I guess that we can talk about them first real quick, and then we'll move into them talking about Randall. I thought, here we really started to see some phrase in their marriage and their relationship, which I actually appreciated because I think that, these were two people who were going to divorce, and obviously they love each other, and that's what they've come back around to one another. But now, okay, Jim made it through, and we're still under this big stress of all this stuff happening. And so I think it's understandable that, if they had issues as a married couple, like that's something you have to actively work on. And if you don't, then those little cracks will show again eventually. And I think that's what we're seeing here.
They don't disappear just because you've solved one problem.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I just feel like there was a bit of them drifting apart in this episode.
That's a good point. What did you think about Tabitha undermining him in front of the children? Not undermining, but presenting a unified front.
Yes. I didn't think that was cool.
Just as a parenting issue. You
just don't do that. She should have asked him to step outside to talk with her about it before she just like contradicted what he said right in front of them.
Right. You always 100%. Want to be a united front.
Exactly.
Unified front.
Yeah. Because otherwise the kids know,
and they start playing one against the other.
Right.
And especially their ages, Julie being a teenager and Ethan being a young, impressionable little boy.
Exactly.
But what angered me was Jim's go-to could be an experiment.
Yeah.
The whole place could be an experiment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the way he described Victor.
Oh, I know. I wrote that down too. Like
some simple-minded or
emotionally stunted
freak.
Freak. Yeah, that's even worse.
Carries a gun around in his lunchbox. That was why I got so angry.
Yeah. A little strange given that this man also saved your kid, your daughter and your wife's life.
Yeah.
like Tabitha points out. And such an oversimplifying
Yeah.
of Victor and who he is, and the fact that he's lived here forever. And
Yeah.
mhm.
Jim with your long, shaggy haircut that is about 10 years too young for you.
Right. Yeah. So I can understand Tabitha's frustration. And, she says to him, look, you're looking for a rational explanation, but I don't think that there's a rational explanation here. I think that if you think about everything we've seen, it's going to be tough to find something that makes sense.
And note how this is mirrored in Donna's later conversation with Fatima.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
When you're living
Yeah.
in impossible land,
right,
you never know what you're getting.
exactly.
So I thought that Tabitha's reasoning was great.
Mhm.
You never know when we're going to get home. We can't protect them until we get back home.
Right. So so she trots off, and so does Jim, and they go to find people to talk to that are possibly more on their wavelength. And so Jim is like standing, and a drone flies overhead, which initially I didn't I just thought, oh, whoa.
I was like, what's this?
Right. So I was slightly disappointed that it was just Randall.
I know. I had the very same thought.
Yeah. But so he has a nephew, and he was heading to his birthday, and he had gotten him a toy drone, was flying it around. And of course, Jim, the roller coaster builder extraordinaire, has an idea again. So marches over to the bus to talk with Randall. I did enjoy that at least we got some kind of genuine conversation with Randall finally. That wasn't
for 1 second.
Yeah, exactly.
Just the, hey man, thanks for saving me, for digging me out of the house. And
yeah.
Randall immediately turns it around with, how many people had to die before?
Yeah.
Anyway,
come on, man. But I was like, well, perhaps they will now be conspiracy theory friends.
I wrote, Randall has to have been in the military.
Oh yeah, what made you feel that way about
the way that everything that we've thought about before, right. The guns and the comfort with trauma and just the way he acts and behaves, but and the fact that he's like coming home on a bus, which you don't normally do, or using the bus, but the ease and knowledge with which he accepted Jim's talk about government conspiracies and
that's true. He was willing to go along with it.
Yeah, he was familiar with it because it's often done in the armed forces,
right?
On experiments performed on soldiers, like the Tuskegee experiment. They're often using their own to experiment upon.
Yeah,
it's just the whole vibe, everything about it.
Yeah,
reinforcement that he was in the forces.
So they go for a walk, and Jim shows him, the camper, and he goes in there, I guess, for the antenna, but that's where they have this discussion. Randall very confidently says, well, you're missing the bigger question here, which is, if this is an experiment, somebody's got to be in on it. In order to keep the experiment going. Yes, a mole.
And moles, plural.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And he raises a great point, if that is indeed what's going on. And so, of course, that gets us as the audience, as well as Jim, questioning everything. And something I thought was really interesting was how after he said that, because that was sort of the end of the scene, he says that, and then we cross cut to the conversation with Julie, Ellis, and Fatima. And Julie's first line is, he stabbed you, and they're discussing Dale and what happened, the previous night. And so a lot of times I feel like cross cuts like that are meant to be clues.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so I have been starting to wonder if perhaps Dale, if there is a mole, perhaps Dale is a mole. We're going to talk about Donna in a second, but this leads us to the conversation that Donna and Dale had at the beginning of the episode.
Well, okay, first off, Randall talking about why you would need a mole, or moles, plural. Mm-hmm. How else do you keep the experiment on track?
Right. So now, what do you think he really means there?
You need someone or someone's on the inside, pushing, pulling, adjusting as needed. getting information and conveying it to whomever is in control. Because we've heard a lot about they're observing us, they're watching us, but we haven't heard a lot about they're listening to us.
Right. Yeah.
And it just goes more to they would need an inside man or people to keep the lines of communication flowing.
Yeah.
Real quick, when Jim was explaining his government experiment theory to Randall, he says they've been doing this stuff for a long, long time. And when you see the ones that have been declassified, makes you wonder about the ones that haven't been.
Mm-hmm.
So I noted a long, long time and declassification. Is that a word? Declassifying.
Declassification. Yeah.
Declassification.
Yeah.
So long, long time plus declassification would indicate back to the 50s, 60s.
Yeah, I definitely think that there might have been a inciting incident for this town that was during that time period based on how everybody's dressed. But then you also have the Civil War person that's coming after. But that could easily also be somebody who was doing reenactments. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought.
But definitely.
And mostly that kind of stuff, the government experimenting and like the dark shadow conspiracy, that was 50s, 60s.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that was nice.
I definitely think that they've shown many, many, many hints that indicate that something key happened with this town at that time. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
That's all I wanted to add.
Yeah. And so, yeah, Donna is talking with Dale, and we can see right off the bat that Donna's feeling guilty about not having been there when everything went down. Or at least she appears to be feeling guilty. We don't necessarily... I think there's some interesting stuff to discuss with Donna, because now we have that in the front of our minds about a mole. So I mentioned a few episodes ago how I thought it was strange that Donna had a photo of her and her sister framed in her room. And we see this, like, I think, in the first episode of the series or something like that. Yeah. But I thought it was strange because the story that she told was that she was going on a trip with her sister and they were together when they're going on this trip. And so I said, I don't know, why would you have a framed photo of you and your sister if you were traveling with your sister on a vacation?
Exactly.
It didn't make sense to me. And that was sort of one of the first things that started getting me to think about if there was something else to this with her. And so, yeah, this crosscut of them talking about being a mole to next we're in the room with Donna and Dale, I think also begins they want us to feel that way. They want us to think those things. So what is she really feeling guilty about? And
wait, Donna and Dale happened before the mole talk.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, but no. It crosscuts. Well,
crosscuts to Julie.
Correct. Yeah. Crosscuts to Julie. Yes. Thank you. Sorry. That's a good clarification. Yes.
Okay.
It crosscuts to Julie, Ellis, and Donna. Sorry about that. Yeah. At the beginning of the episode or before that, we see Donna and Dale talking. Yes.
Yeah. That's at the start.
Yeah.
But Donna in the picture.
Yeah, Donna in the picture. She does always seem to be discouraging their efforts at communication or at trying to escape.
And directing, and don't do this without my permission. And yeah.
Don't tell anyone this, don't tell anyone that.
Yep.
And later on in that scene that we were just talking about, when Julie's visiting with Ellis and Fatima, she goes to leave, and Donna's coming in and looks at Julie and says, "Leaving so soon?" And the way that she said it was weird. Yeah, it was almost like she really didn't want her to, like, there was something behind her not wanting Julie to leave. The way she said it,
little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and it just kind of didn't sit right with me, because it's like she's going home to her family, and this place has not been a safe place.
No,
for a while now.
Well, I mean, it could be guilt,
right? It could be, exactly.
Or just Donna in a good mood because Ellis is back. When I was writing my Donna Mole theory notes, I wrote about like Donna with the peaches for Victor. Donna seems to have like favorite, not characters, favorites in her house.
Right. Yeah,
and she's going to do little things for them. And I just thought, but her having access to peaches, like unlimited peaches for Victor
Mm-hmm.
until now, because it seems like something's revving up and the people in the know, like Victor, because he's been
Yeah.
there forever, and maybe Donna, because she's a mole. The way
Right.
she talks about the food shortage with assurity that it won't be long and it won't be forever.
Yeah.
This is
Right.
a
Like, how
temporary
on earth
thing.
would you know?
I keep going back to a culling, you
Mhm.
know?
Yep.
Victor later says, anytime something changes around here, it usually means something bad is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime there's something
Exactly.
different. And something seems to be making Donna nervous, but she seems to have info that others don't have.
I agree. I agree.
And what do you think? Yeah?
No, I'm with you there. Yeah. I think there's, if we look back at it, and I think there's probably quite a few instances where, yeah, she seems to either
I'm going
have
to go back and look.
yeah, I want to. Yeah. So I do think that it's possible. That said, she does seem to sincerely care about her people.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if she were a mole, perhaps she cares about her people because it's important for her to do her job well.
Or it
Or
means she's
maybe
grown to love her
that
people,
exactly, maybe that's what it is. Maybe the lines have been blurred because of that.
like a reverse Stockholm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And she were a mole, she's emotionally invested, that believes that whatever they're doing,
Ooh.
all, and she believes in whatever they're doing, but she also wants to protect the ones that she wants to protect. So, maybe it's a stretch, but it also could be that her motivate, like, even though she cares, that the motivation behind why could be different.
But you know what? Think back to when the bad stuff, like the big bad stuff, has happened at Colony House.
Mm-hmm.
Where has Donna been?
Right. That's true
Not there.
too. Not there. Yeah, you're right.
And for weird reasons. Like, I'm going to go
Yeah.
can veggies with the
Right.
Matthews all night.
That's a great point, Liz. I
You
hadn't even
know,
thought
I don't
about
know.
that.
Where was she during the massacre? She pulls up and she's like, what's
What's going
going on?
on?
She
Yeah.
had been there.
Right. Yeah.
She'd been at the party and then all of a sudden she's not there.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Really good point.
I'm going to have to go back and look, but
Yeah. The other, part of this is me thinking that perhaps Dale, might be a mole, if
fucking
not
Dale.
her. And so, yeah, he seems exceptionally disconnected.
I know, like, how is he still there?
Yeah.
What does he contribute?
He doesn't contribute anything. He in no way seemed worried about Ellis or the fact that he almost died and that he did it.
Kid. He's a good kid.
I mean, what? So sociopathic maybe at best, or narcissistic sociopath. I don't know, but
dick.
Yeah. But so he's very preoccupied with like what's going to happen to him, or how he's going to be perceived, or at trying to get them to admit things. He wants to know answers to things but he's not in the inner circle, but he tries to be. He kind of inserts himself into conversations. Now that could just be a writing thing because they were trying to, develop his character enough for this storyline to make sense. But yeah, I mean, I think it could also be, here's this guy sort of spying and being on the outskirts of it. And, he knifes Ellis. And the last time we saw somebody sort of turn on one of them like that, it was Sarah as well. So, I don't know. I do think he's very sus. And something I also noticed on the rewatch, you had brought up a while back that it looked like, it's in the intro in particular, it looked like everything, there were arrows pointing upward.
Yeah. The tree.
Right? The trees, so the trees are very simple trees, but they're drawn, like arrows. The houses are all like, the roofs are all shaped in that, triangle shape.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's a recurring motif of triangles I noticed everywhere. And I also saw on Dale's neck, he's wearing a large triangle pendant. And so, yeah, he seems exceptionally disconnected.
Something that I'd missed, a large, shiny pendant that I'd missed until you pointed it out.
Yeah. And I just thought, what is the significance? Is there significance of triangles here? Is this a clue? Could this mean that he is tied to the place as a spy, as a mole, or something like that? If, because I feel like the drawings are meant to be sort of little clues and things that they've seen. And so the fact that that's a similar image, sort of in my mind, is something to look out for.
Have you seen The Matrix?
Yes, I have. It's been a long time, though.
He reminds me of the guy that ends up being a traitor.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of that I should be in charge. How come I'm not the special one, or the chosen one?
Yeah.
I'm going to get mine by being a mole.
Yeah.
Fuck the team. You've never appreciated me anyway. So
yeah. So I think so. I think it's possible. It is highly possible.
I like that theory.
And then the other major storyline that Donna was involved in was the big conversation she has with Fatima.
Okay. That scene. Well, I told you I thought it was way over the top and
it was
weird. And Donna seemed hysterical. Like happy and then a little too happy and then
yes,
manic.
Why? Is this a culmination of just what she's feeling in general? Or is it because you'd think she would understand, like truly understand why Fatima is so scared, just on a base level of getting pregnant in this place.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
At first I chalked it up to Donna's been through so many losses.
Right.
She's just, at this point, she's so grateful for a win, or what she perceives as a win.
Yeah.
And it's coming off of her monologue. Were you about to talk about that?
I was going to touch on that. Yeah, but go ahead. So, go ahead and talk about the monologue.
Well, when Fatima walks in, Donna just immediately kind of launches into, I'm doing shitty. I can't grow anything. It's like these plants are being grown in poisoned soil. And then she says, Boyd, all he ever wanted was to find ... What the fuck?
Yeah, well, she probably find a way home is what I was thinking. Find a way for us to get home, or find a way to get us to escape.
What does that have to do with plants not growing?
I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think she's just sort of, if there's a food storage and she's trying to grow food, but she can't do it, I think she's expressing her fear here. I think she's, if we want to, let's say she's not the mole, she's worried and she's trying to stay strong for everybody and pretend like she's not as worried as she is. And she was probably really hopeful and depending on Boyd to figure something out, but he didn't. And
Donna doesn't know that Boyd got the worms out of his blood.
And now she has all these dying things. And it's like, what are we going to do?
All right. And then quick, like poison soil, Fatima's, system of reproduction. The plants won't grow. It's like we're trying to grow them in poison soil.
Yeah.
When she's giving Fatima her, go get him speech, she talks about so many impossible things. You just start to assume that everything impossible is bad. I wrote good signs, bad signs, up to us to.
And then it's also kind of at the end of it, she says, a nightmare is just the other side of a dream.
Figure out what they are, which is which.
Right. Yeah, like good symbols and bad symbols too.
And that's it, right?
Yeah,
right. It comes up in another conversation between Victor and yeah,
which is also a callback to the pilot when Fatima tells Julie that if you get high enough, she kind of says the same thing.
And another callback to season 1, episode 6, when Fatima has her anniversary party. What does Donna give her? A dream catcher.
Right. Wow, you're right.
May all of your dreams be good ones.
Oh my gosh, that's interesting.
I mean, who knows what it means, but.
Well, again, we're really talking about dreams here. So, and that's been brought up as a theory too, I mean, I don't really love the idea of it all being a dream in any way, but
I would hate that.
I don't like that at all. But at the same time, like it is something that continues to get mentioned.
We're looking at, human systems, anatomy, something that shouldn't be happening, but it is.
That's
the
true.
monsters being animated, but how could they? They're all dried up, fertility. That's probably a reach, but
Probably, but still, it's a good one. And it does make sense. Yeah. So I wrote, is this an immaculate pregnancy?
Ooh.
Is what I wrote in my notes. And I made a comment on it on Reddit, and somebody came back and talked about what her name means, which I think is really interesting. So Fatima is a female given name of Arabic origin used throughout the Muslim world. Several relatives of the Islamic prophet Muhammad had the name, including his daughter, Fatima, as the most famous one. The literal meaning of the name is one who weans an infant or one who abstains.
Oh.
It is also the site of a miraculous event for Catholics and other Christians. And it also can mean captivating and shining one. The gorgeous name is shining a light in Muslim homes, with many parents naming their bundle of joy after the Prophet Muhammad's daughter. She was one of 4 perfect women and was the only child of Muhammad to bear children. She's often considered the Muslim equivalent of Christianity's Virgin Mary, and a leading feminine figure to aspire to.
No way.
So there you go. Yeah.
Well, look at her character.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what
Right.
during her anniversary party, Donna says, you know, you're a special light. When you arrived, it was something we didn't even know we needed. You're our special one.
Mm-hmm.
You're always so good and happy and loving and selfless. And then in the beginning of this season, what is Elgin worrying about? He's worried that his perfect
Mm-hmm.
Fatima is losing her light.
Yes, you're right. Yes, exactly. Oh, yep.
And that's when Boyd says, you know, be her
Mhm.
tether, go pick
Yeah.
some flowers. But, you know, it all kind of tracks.
It
And
does.
if it is an experiment, I wonder if they're going to want a wide range of samples, meaning people.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about how a lot of the characters have trauma, you know, like the Matthews with the infant son that died.
Yeah,
And,
exactly. Mm-hmm.
you know, and then we looked at like, well, but what does it mean about Bacta and Jade that they were coming from good things?
Right, exactly.
And so that just kind of factors in. But then with Fatima getting pregnant, it would be another way to kind of, if they're looking at how hard do we have to push to make someone afraid, or how hard do we have to push to make someone lose hope? How hard do we have to push to get someone to the point that Abby got to?
Right. Yeah.
This would be another way of squeezing
Right. Yeah.
a little bit.
And pushing people to their brink.
Exactly.
And the hope. I think she's perfectly justified in being so scared.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they could be torturing her. She doesn't know.
I mean, Donna says, how lucky are you? You met the love of your life in this place.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, how does she know that's the love of her life?
Right. Yeah. That's true too.
Could just be like a little hottie with a body that she's having fun with.
I mean,
you
she
know?
does say that Ellis is her person, you know, and they're engaged, you know, they've decided to get married, but regardless.
She's her person there.
Exactly. Like nobody knows what's, you know, this is a very high stress situation where all of these people are
That's what I'm
forced
saying.
to bond under these
Yeah.
circumstances.
How would Donna know to say this is, you know, you met the love of your life?
Mhm.
And as I'm really going with this experimentation or experiment idea theory, but you know, the same way that Mary was brought here for Christy,
Right.
I wonder if they paired Ellis and Fatima,
Perhaps. Yeah.
knowing they were meant to be somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
It'd be interesting. Then we've also got Victor and Ethan, and they always have interesting conversations.
You gave me a bad gift.
Gave me a bad gift. The orange didn't have any ink. But, you know, Ethan's upset because he's like, hey, I thought we were friends. And so Victor says to him, like, look, I'm trying to protect you and we can't be friends. We shouldn't be friends because bad things happen to my friends here.
Yeah. And what's Ethan's cute little comeback? How do you know you're friends if you don't spend time with them?
Oh, yeah.
Something like that.
That was a really good comeback. I was like, that was smart. That is pretty funny. Yeah. He's measuring again. So Ethan asks how many times they have to measure it. And Victor says a lot because they have to be sure. But it made me wonder, like, why do they have to be so sure?
Well, he's measuring the trees, right?
Right.
and he's measuring how close they've moved to the town.
Oh, to the
Measuring
town.
Right, he's
Okay.
measuring their movement because it's been established that they do move.
Right. Yes. Okay. But I didn't think about it in the terms of them like moving in, encroaching inward towards the town.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
That's
some of well,
interesting.
I believe so.
Yeah.
And in some of the opening credit drawings, you see trees that have gotten close and they've got like wrapped their roots around houses in a
Oh, you're
menacing
right.
way, you know?
Liz, you are
So
on it, man.
you
That
are
is so
too.
true. Huh.
Maybe I just won't finish my prep for everyone.
So I wonder that, man, I wonder if Victor even knows what that means, though, like in terms of like why it's bad. Ethan's
Well,
like, go ahead.
if he drew the pictures, it would mean that he's seen
Oh, seen it before, of course, duh.
before,
Yeah.
maybe.
And yeah, so the leaves are falling off the trees, and
And this is a new thing.
right,
It's
this is a
never
new
happened
thing
before.
ever.
Endless spring or summer.
Yeah. And so, of course, he says that when change happens here, it's usually bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also makes me wonder, like, what have the other changes been over time that have been bad? What's happened?
I
So,
know. And
yeah.
I keep saying culling. I bet it's,
Mm-hmm.
use like 2 cars versus
Yeah.
1 or,
Mm-hmm.
X number of people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's in the scene that we get the call, another reference to good and bad signs or symbols and you
Right.
figure out which is which.
Yeah.
Because Ethan says, well, if it's never happened before, then how do you know if it's bad?
Mm-hmm.
Could be good. Could be a
Right.
good thing.
Yes, exactly.
And then Victor just looking worried and we cut out.
Yeah. And so the other Matthews child, Julie, is leaving the colony house, and she is walking, and Elgin kind of sees her and calls her over. And
he's like, psst, hey,
yeah.
you, over here.
Come here.
Wanna go for a walk? Why
And
are you?
she's like, yeah, okay, can we talk? And she's like, sure, let's talk. And he's like, let's go for a walk. And he looks around like he's trying to figure out if anybody's watching him or listening to him, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Like, why are you so paranoid? Why are you doing that?
I used to get annoyed by Elgin being hard to read, difficult to read.
Yeah.
But now I'm kind of getting it. I'm kind of getting into it and learning that when he's got like a weird look on his face or a faraway look, I kind of know what to expect.
Yeah.
And
now I think they go for their walk, and he seems to realize, or he seems to be realizing that, like, I feel like I'm having memories or something that's kind of like that. Like, I'm supposed to remember something that's on the edge of my mind, but I just can't quite reach it.
Or I know that I'm supposed to do something, I just can't remember what it is.
Right. Which, we put out that video that was from episode 6, where we talked about whether or not he was Elgin and Ellis's son. But regardless, we also discussed the fact that it seems like he's probably been here before.
Yep.
And
we talked about the possibility of, we know that people can move through time and space with what Boyd has been through with the faraway trees and the Martin Tower, postulating that if someone were to leave Frumsville, it might be like an automatic memory wipe.
Right, exactly.
Two things cannot exist in different spaces, something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't read comic books, so I wouldn't know, but something about, multiverses that Dale has posited.
Right.
A multiverse or a pocket verse might make memory impossible. All right.
Right. Yeah. So I think that was they're really, really trying to kind of make us sort of infer that, and they're heading that direction.
Talk about what he says.
So he says, I didn't write down exactly what he says, but basically it's what he says is that, like, he's, like, experiencing things. And then he talks about the autopsy. He talks about tells her that Boyd, killed one. And so he's sharing that information with her. He also says, hey, like, please don't tell anyone this, which I thought was interesting too. But more that he was like, I don't want Boyd to be pissed at me.
Right. That was in my note.
Yeah.
Why Boyd?
Why Boyd? Exactly. Like, why do you care about whether or not Boyd would be upset with you?
Because
So
that's
again,
true.
for me, that's a potential clue that like he has some kind of respect or relationship with Boyd that is maybe inherent within him for a reason.
Well, yeah.
Wink,
Like
wink.
maybe that's grandpa who
Pop
was
pop. Yeah.
yeah, pop
Exactly.
pop.
That's what I call my grandfather. I guess it's like an
Aw.
East Coast or
Well,
Italian or whatever.
mine was papa.
Okay, it was close.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and papa.
Yeah.
It was German. But Boyd said something interesting. He said when he's describing the feeling, because he says he was looking down on Smiley in the dirt in the morning.
Uh-huh.
And he says it was like I was right there. And it's like before I could move my head, it was gone.
Yeah.
Before I could move my head, kind of strange.
What?
But
Yeah, very, very strange.
yeah, it's saying
Yeah.
something I was supposed to remember.
Yeah. And I also wondered if there was a reason he chose Julie, aside from the fact that Julie was like, hey, if you ever want to talk, but why choose her? And I thought, again, perhaps maybe it's because she's still technically a kid. And it
Yeah.
seems like, you know, the kids are going to be on the innocent end of the spectrum.
More open.
Yeah, potentially. Although I think, you know, I don't know, we've talked a lot about evil children using this town as their playground, you know, as their live video game. So I don't
Right.
know. Yeah.
That's it. No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I think Elgin is really smart,
Mm-hmm.
but I wondered if in my notes I was writing, I wonder if whatever memory wipe or time shenanigans he's gone through, if he grew up somehow cognitively impaired,
Mm-hmm.
you know, always feeling like something's on the tip of his tongue, or as he says, like right here.
Yeah. And he can't
Couldn't remember
articulate it.
Yeah. It would explain part of his being so quiet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
His character being so quiet and kind of reserved. I feel like he had a rough childhood.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
I
know?
think so. And then at the end of the episode,
Ugh.
he goes to so Julie gives him this whole thing about like, you know, when she's feeling overwhelmed by everything, when she's, you know, having a tough time, that she takes a bath and she, you know, goes right under the water and it's quiet and peaceful and it's like, you know, you're at the beach and she can have that moment. And he's like, well, I don't take baths, you know.
Yeah.
She teases him or whatever, or flirts with him. I'm not sure which. I couldn't tell.
Teases
But yeah, so at the end of the episode, he decides he's going to try it. And he gets into the bath fully clothed.
Clothes on.
What?
Yeah.
Why? What did you
Okay,
make of that? Why did he get in there with his clothes on?
Because he doesn't take baths.
He just doesn't know any better?
He just doesn't. I'm not a bath person.
Like, what?
I know.
And so la 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 la, he goes under the water and then suddenly hears the noise, the music box.
Does he hear it when he's underwater, or
I can't remember if he hears it first or if he sees it first, honestly.
Okay, yeah. I can remember.
Yeah. But next thing you know, this scary, scary monster is standing over him, trying to drown him. While giggling like a child. More giggling, more child references.
So creepy.
Super creepy. And a lot of people feel like that monster looked a lot like Fatima. So what do you think about the Fatima and what she was wearing compared to what this monster was wearing?
I did a quick see. Not the same clothes exactly.
Yeah, I didn't think so either.
No, different colored, like a tank top, yellow instead of blue.
Mm-hmm.
Blue is what Fatima is wearing. And then the outer shirt, it's like a flowy outer shirt type of thing.
Right.
But those look very similar.
That's the one I think that they were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not exactly the same, but definitely her vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. So
wondering, like, so we've never seen this kind of hallucination before, right?
I don't think so. No.
We've seen dancing ballerinas, we've seen people that attack, but never a hallucination of a monster except for the children.
Right. I don't think so.
Yeah. Tabitha.
Right.
If they are indeed they're monstrous looking. But...
Right.
Right. So why would Elgin hallucinate this?
I know.
That's
And what was it? To me too, there was something to me that read a little like Asian about it. I don't know if just the look and the way the hair was and the outfit, I don't know. There was just something about it that felt
like an East Asian.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you get that look or that vibe at all?
I didn't. I can see how you would.
Yeah.
I just, when I saw it, I really just thought it was one of the mummified monsters.
Yeah.
With the giggling, the children, it sounds like a child, an evil child giggling.
Really horrible child.
Goes with, I know, bad child.
Strange high-pitched giggle.
Goes to our theory about evil children.
Yeah. And the nature of it being fun for them.
At play, right.
Like, ooh, this is fun to scare the shit out of you and drown you.
Hold them down. See if
what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. In general, it's all very childlike. Just more and more I notice that. The more that we talk about it, the more I see it everywhere in the town.
The element of play, the high-pitched giggling. So yeah, I saw like a monster in mummified sleep form.
It just looks like somebody who's like skeleton-like, really old and wrinkly and skeleton-like.
Well, I think the fact that they had Christy say that the body looked like something out of a museum, and I think that she means mummy. I think that's what they're going for.
Yeah. And the hair is really kind of straight,
like what we'd see on the kids if they grew up. The kind of it just looks like an old body to me.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, but it looks like really just crepey, papery skin, sunken in cheeks.
Yeah,
that whole thing. Yeah.
Does it look like she's smiling, or is that just the laughter?
No, it doesn't. That's why it's weird. That's why I found it strange, because it doesn't look like she's smiling or laughing, but we hear the laughing and the smiling.
Oh, it's so creepy.
Yeah.
And he hears the music before he sees the box.
Right.
And I think that was the same with Christy. She hears the music and then turns to look and sees the box.
Yeah.
But she sees Smiley first.
But the other thing the other reason I thought there was an Asian influence to it is because I actually think it looks like she's wearing a kimono.
Yeah.
There's another picture where it's like, it looks like it's this robe, but then you see sort of like this red banding closer to the waist that you might see on somebody who's wearing a kimono.
Like a Barbie, my Asian friend outfit, like kind of over the top.
Yes.
Sounds awful.
It was terribly funny.
My Asian friend.
My Asian.
God.
Oh Lord. But yes, but that's why
okay, sorry.
But yes, that is why I thought that it was an Asian monster, because it looks like a kimono to me.
Oh dear Lord.
Oh Lord. Yeah, but it's very weird.
I like that it's a different monster though, or a new
I do
version.
too. And like looking at it now, I mean, I understand why people said Fatima, but I don't think it looks like Fatima. I think that it's just another type of monster, or maybe somebody, who knows if it's somebody significant to him. But
what the fuck would it be about then?
I don't know.
So weird. Well, okay, so he said when he was looking at Smiley dead or incapacitated on the ground in daytime, that's when he got that feeling of something that he was supposed to remember. So I was just trying to think how that might trigger seeing, another kind of monster interacting with him malevolently.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Like maybe there's something that he knows. And Mr. Smiley is such an important one.
Oh, very.
Like if they were going to kill it off, make it, cowboy, good time.
Exactly. Because like that's like the face of the monsters essentially.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I don't feel like they've killed him off. I think he'll be back. We talk a lot about like how these people are getting sort of infected with this thing that's making them hallucinate. But I mean, ultimately, like this town is designed to drive you crazy. I don't think that like the blood transference is the concrete main way that this infects people. I think that there probably is more to it than that. That just seems too straightforward and too logical for everything that we've seen.
Right. You mean like for the second wave or the second level of
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. When Donna was talking to Fatima about the pregnancy and, oh, what a wonderful thing, I was thinking, like, a lot of bad shit happens in this town,
Yeah.
you know? It's not like the plants are thriving or, they're growing food or anything is really flourishing
You're
in
right.
this town.
Yeah.
I mean, every week someone
Right.
dies. Someone's at
And
the
for her to
hospital.
think that a miraculous pregnancy would be possible, I mean,
I
it's
know.
just I don't know. It's also uncharacteristic of Donna to
Right?
react that way.
She's not mushy like that.
No.
I mean, yes, Fatima's a favorite of hers, but
Mhm.
she does not seem like, call me grandma.
Right, exactly. Although
she's
they've
good
tried to
with-
write her that way the last couple episodes between her, heart to heart with
Again.
Ethan and then now this. So I don't know if they're just sort of shifting.
Well, that would be odd, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I don't. The way she played that scene, would you say it was played over the top? Like played to be obviously over the top?
Do I think that we're talking about like an acting writing issue, or do I think we're talking about like she was
Like-
doing that purposefully to try and
Yeah. Do you think the writers wrote it as purposeful or that she was playing a note of you want this to be a little off or a little too much?
maybe so. Maybe if nothing else, just to everybody's like sort of acting a little bit different as things have been changing.
How so? I mean, who else?
Well, just in the sense of like Fatima's been less positive this
Yeah.
season and she's been struggling, and Julie's less petulant.
Right. Jim is obsessed with
Conspiracy theories.
theory.
Yeah, everybody's just kind of sort of going in a little bit of we've seen in this episode, we see Jade, as we were about to talk about Jade, and he's decided he's going to figure out how to make liquor because it's less terrifying.
Love Jade.
So me too. So everybody's kind of either trying to react to things a little differently or adjust or, do something different than what they've been doing. So perhaps we're just kind of, the point is, for us to look at how this place is affecting everybody, the evolution of it, the changing, all of that stuff.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see, I guess. I was very shocked by the reaction. I thought it was very big.
Yeah, big.
And I thought it was also kind of like weird and annoying that she didn't even validate Fatima's fear. Really, she laughed at her.
Kept saying, you're wrong.
Yeah.
What you're doing is wrong. You're not.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was just off to me. But it could have been like, because she is so just because she needed something happy to hold on to.
Maybe that's what we're meant to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
The whole poison soil and then, fertile.
And the leaders are struggling. I mean, even look at Boyd. He's having a tough time. He's, you can tell he's freaking out. The way his line delivery and the way he's talking to everybody has changed this season.
Less confident,
more like he's just desperate. He's starting to feel more desperate and freaked out himself. And I think that's coming out in the way that he's talking to people. People are starting to go, oh, he's acting kind of crazy.
Yeah. And he no longer has Father Kadri to talk to.
Right.
That was his sounding board, a safe person to kind of unload upon without worrying about them taking on more burden.
Right.
And that's probably why he was hallucinating him.
Yeah, exactly. Because he needed somebody to. My hope is that maybe Christy can be a good sounding board. She seems to be on the same page as him. But
I thought Mama Lou, she and Boyd seem to have a good relationship, and she's a leader.
Yeah, for sure.
All right,
so we go into the bar formerly owned by our deceased friend Tom. And
Jade is just taken over.
Yes.
It's just his spot now.
Jade's moved in. And did Tabitha go looking for him, or did Tabitha go to drink?
I think she went looking for him.
That's what I thought too. Yeah, that's how I. Yeah. And I thought it was interesting that she went to him to talk,
Oh,
but
she does, because
yeah,
what does she want from him? She wants to talk to him about her hallucinations.
right. So she talked to Jim and he's insisting humans are behind this and she's not
Yes.
convinced, and definitely I think is feeling like she needed to talk to somebody who maybe won't look at her like she's crazy.
Right, because she says, why did it not faze you
Mm-hmm.
when you found me on the ground screaming at nothing?
Right. And he's
And
like,
comes
well,
out that because I've been there.
yeah, exactly.
As a matter
And
of fact, your husband found me.
your husband found me that way.
And I told him, I think I remember that I told him to fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they sit down and they're talking about what each of them have seen.
Yep. Like, wait, you're seeing more than one thing?
Right.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
I
he
love
kind
them comparing. Like this
Yeah.
is these are my hallucinations. Okay, well, what are you seeing? I'm seeing scary children.
Sharing frightening information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But finally, at least they're, people are talking to each
Yeah.
other. I wish it was, even I wish they would all come together, but because they
Who
probably
did
all
you-
feel less crazy if they all started talking. And it's like, oh, okay. And then isn't there strength in numbers and everybody putting their heads together to try and figure it out?
And instead it's all shh, don't tell anyone,
Right.
secret.
Yeah.
Jade keeps talking about Christopher, and I'm like,
Right.
who the fuck was Christopher again? Oh
Me
yeah,
too.
it was his journal, but did we know him? What?
I don't think we do. That's why I've been wondering the same thing. I'm like, who is this Christopher and why is he so important? Because he keeps being
Exactly.
brought up.
Yeah,
And he's like, that's Christopher. And of course, she says, that's Victor.
right away.
And knew
Right
immediately.
away.
And he was startled that she would know immediately. She hasn't seen the photo, has she?
No, and when Jade showed it to Kenny and Mama Lou,
Mm-hmm.
they were both like, oh, Mama Lou immediately said Victor. And then
Right.
Kenny was like, oh yeah, Victor. So they're both pretty quick to it, but not as quick as Tabitha.
I think she knew. My guess was that she knew because Ethan
Oh yeah.
had maybe talked about Victor having lived there since he was little. And the lunchbox too is the same lunchbox.
Well, she would be very eyes on Victor at all times, knowing that
Right.
that's who her son hangs out with. So it wouldn't make it would make sense that she'd be watching him
Right.
and would be really familiar. Yeah.
And especially because, Jim seems a little annoyed that, Ethan's hanging out with him, but she seems to realize that, it's okay that they're friends and that Victor might be somebody that's good to talk to anyway, because he has been here so long. But more importantly, I just thought it was interesting that Christopher, that there was a name, that we talked about him again. It just made me wonder if that person is supposed to be important.
Supposed to care about him.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I don't. I'd like to.
And then, Jade said maybe this is just a fucked up place where fucked up shit happens. And I just thought that was kind of funny. I was like, is this the writers trolling us, telling us just to watch the show and to stop obsessing over what's going on?
Get off Reddit for a minute.
Just watch the show. We'll tell you in good time.
It was very funny.
And then at the end of the scene,
well, Jade says something like, you keep seeing children. What are you doing he makes some remark about which children did you piss off, or what did you do?
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, oh, well, I lost a child, as a matter of fact. Maybe he doesn't say anything, but he does bring up children, I think.
He does. Yeah. I forget the context, but he asks why. Oh no, she says, I think I'm being punished. What if I'm being punished? I think I'm being punished.
Okay.
And he says, well, why would you seeing children be a punishment?
There you go.
And then that's when she reveals it.
And Jade, I was shocked, by how warm he was.
I know.
And empathetic.
Mm-hmm.
And B, that he thanked her for her help.
Help. Yeah.
I really love Jade's arc.
I do too. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really could not stand him last season. I thought he was so annoying and over the top.
I loved him. I thought it was ridiculous, but it was fun.
Yeah. But, and I keep thinking about the Sawyer comp that you made. Mm-hmm. And it's so spot on.
Yeah. He's that's how he feels to me.
Such a Sawyer.
super annoying at first, nicknaming everybody, just being
Yes.
a, jerk, and then slowly you begin to love him.
Absolutely.
And so as I don't know if she's walking out or she's down the bar or whatever, but she's looking at the notebook and she sees the symbol in the notebook.
Yep. She's like, oh, is that the symbol that you keep seeing?
Because I saw it in the tunnels. And he stops.
Tunnels.
The tunnels? What tunnels?
Well, let me tell you.
So that's kind of our little cliffhanger for that story. So.
And it looks like that's where they're going next week.
Yes.
Cannot wait.
Me either.
Gonna go kill some monsters and look at some symbols.
Try to figure it out. Maybe if they figure out there's some sort of language or something, and I think that is the benefit of people working together, is trying to make sense of some of that type of stuff is easier when you've got multiple people that come from different backgrounds. And, it's why Reddit's fun too, because you have all these people with all these different sort of things that they know about, and people can go, oh, well, this is what I know about this, and this is what I know about this. And then, you start to try and figure it out.
Share information. Someone on here will know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, if they go to the tunnels, it might not hurt to take some samples of the rocks.
Mm-hmm.
See if they might work as talisman.
Right. Yeah. Oh, and the other thing that's brought up sort of as a cliffhanger is, how are we going to get the bile? How are we going to be able to test it out to see if it works, right? We can't get close enough to them without dying. So what are we going to do?
Oh, that's why they're going to the tunnels.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And so Boyd's suggestion in the preview was kind of like, well, I was going to dip a bullet in it. And somebody was like, come on, man, like with the speed of the bullet, like I just think that's a terrible idea. And an arrow would be better than a bullet, which I thought was very accurate. I would agree. Or a spear of some kind, tip of the spear, if you will.
Bullet. Oh, yeah.
A bullet?
Spear.
Come on now.
Did we talk about, when we were talking about Jim, did we talk about what the ultimate plan is? To use the radio that Jim had kind of adjusted for their trip to make it easier to get Wi-Fi wherever they went.
Right.
And then if they can put the radio on the drone and tinker with it a little bit, they can make it like a radio signal that can go anywhere.
Yes.
As high as they want. Or far.
As high or far. I wonder what that is going to result in.
But I think height is the important part.
Yeah.
Especially with the arrows pointing up.
I think the arrows pointing up, the treetops is an important thing. And the stories that we discussed in the last episode, the faraway tree stories, the treetops are like that's like how you get in. That's an important part of it. So I'm wondering if, this drone is going to take us up. And like you said, all of the arrows pointing up. I'm kind of feeling like that might play into it.
That might piss someone off.
They might send a storm.
I was going to say, you might see another storm.
Rain that shit out of the sky. Some little miscellaneous things. We finally saw Bacta out of her uniform.
Yep. Looking so different.
Right? So different. I was like, whoa, this is a different. Look at you. Yes, she's beautiful. Okay, so we discussed a lot of interesting theories this week. So for you, what do you think the theory of the week is? What was the most interesting thing to pull out of this episode theory-wise that you're excited about?
I think it would be Donna as the mole. Because
me too.
When you go back and look at her behavior, especially this week, you start to get a little sus.
Yeah.
Including the fact that she wasn't there for both the stabbing of Ellis and I want to say part of the massacre.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm going to go back and look, but it looks like she goes AWOL for a big part of the party.
Yeah. Because she has to go deal with something else, maybe, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe. But I remember she just comes running up outside as people are fleeing the house. And she's like, remember your protocol, get your buddy, get in the car.
And I don't even necessarily think that like it has to be that she could be a cog in a wheel, you know. It might not be that she even has control over certain things. Maybe it's like, this is what she's in charge of. And so the fact that there were attacks there twice when she was gone might even say a little bit of something about, her being gotten out of the way, the like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What we were talking earlier, and I was like, well, perhaps she's excited about the pregnancy for a larger reason. If it's something that she really believes in, then there might be an excuse for some of the malevolence that's there because there's a good reason behind it. And so while she seems to be a leader, perhaps like if she is a mole, if she is part of another team, she's pretty low on the totem pole in that group.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does. I was running through my head, like, what would possibly be something that would be so important in your mind that you would take part in an experiment like the one Jim's envisioning?
Yeah.
And I thought about fear, and I thought, well, what if, like, whatever part of the brain that produces the fear response, the fight or flight responses, is found to, be a cure for cancer or Alzheimer's or
yeah.
Like, what if her sister had Parkinson's and
right. And there was like some greater thing they were trying to solve.
Yeah, like we're trying to mass produce.
And the picture sort of shows, like, reminds her of why she's doing this.
Ooh,
I like that. Yeah. So like in some way her story's sort of true. It's not exactly true, but there's truth in it.
Right. The picture, it's bugged me ever since you reminded me of it.
Yeah.
Why would she have that? And if you put it in the context of Donna's a mole, she's working for some other group.
Yeah.
And then it makes all the sense in the world.
Exactly. Now, some people might say that this is really just poor writing, but I don't know. There's some things that it's like, I don't think that the writing is so bad that you would see that many large loopholes. So I don't, and especially when it's a mystery box show, I just think that, ideally most of the time / all of the time, people who are writing that know what they're writing. They know the genre they're writing for. And so you don't make stupid mistakes.
No, you don't.
You know that things that you're going to dress a set with and all of that, that's going to be important and people are going to be looking at that.
Now, that picture, we know it's not just like a selfie from the trip, right? We've talked about this.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back and look at it.
And like, even if it was taken, well, I mean, the way she tells the story, her sister died literally the day they got there. It wasn't like she survived past the first night. So there's not even an option of like, oh, well, they were there and somebody took a picture. Never mind the issue of how would it get developed, but that's my other thing. If they were traveling and she had taken photos, where would they have been able to develop photos in order for her to print it out and frame it?
See?
So no matter how you cut it, it doesn't make sense.
All right.
So so I think Donna, we've got our sort of sub theory that maybe Dale is a mole instead of Donna.
The power hungry Dale.
The power hungry Dale with the triangle around his neck.
Yep. Dale.
And if we look at them as arrows, then a triangle around this neck is an arrow pointing to him. Essentially, like, look right here at his face.
Dumb face.
So, I don't know.
Dale would wear that anyway. Look at me and my dumb face.
Me and my dumb face.
But yeah, Dale, Mr. I've got ideas. I could be a leader too.
Yeah. Why won't people listen to me? What about a pocket universe?
Ugh, Dale.
Yeah. Now, the other thing I was thinking too is about the triangle, and in terms of like what this place is, it kind of made me think of just like the Bermuda Triangle.
Right.
Which, the Bermuda Triangle, theoretically, before they discovered what was going on, but, it was this mysterious area where people would disappear into. And that's what the town is. It's this Bermuda Triangle that people get lost in and they can't get out, and no one knows how anybody gets in or out, and you can't find them. So that was like when I started thinking in terms of the symbolism of a triangle, that was the first thing that came to my mind.
Going to the title of the episode, The Belly of the Beast. If Rumsville is like a Bermuda Triangle, that would be right in the center
Right.
the
Yeah.
belly of the beast.
Yeah.
It's where the people are landing. It's
Right.
the place of, where did they go?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think the show is titled From? If it's
I've been
about,
wondering. I'm so glad you said that because I've literally been thinking of that the last 2 days. I'm going, why from?
isn't that
Why
weird?
was that the choice? There were,
And why in all capital letters?
yeah.
Because, anagrams, the word from, an anagram for from is form.
Mm-hmm.
Like the monsters take different forms.
Oh, yeah.
Or an alien could take a different shape, form.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the title is weird.
It
But
says here like that a triangle represents perfectness and unity and a strong unit. So I think that's interesting because it's 3. A triangle is
right.
is kind of but it also is when pointing upward, it says they represent stability and power. And when they point down, it means things have become unstable.
Well, look at the pyramids. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, triangles have been related to phenomenon and religious beliefs, and it's a very sacred symbol, and it's
Right.
an old symbol or shape, and it's meant to be powerful. It's I'm
Very
stuck on the title.
up front. Yeah. We know that people all came from different places.
Right.
So I kind of start there. Where are you from? Where's everybody from? Like how we all the tagline for the show, I think that I saw somewhere is something like they know where they're from, but where are they now, or something like that. It's
Right.
Yeah. And that's how they kind of the little tag they gave it. So I know a lot of people think it's a terrible name, and
It is a terrible name.
It just doesn't really
roll off the tongue.
Mm-mm. And plus, the things about it that I think that are important aren't reflected in that as a word, unless it's meant to be a not an anagram, but maybe it stands like each letter stands for something.
I don't know. I just sorry, triangles. I feel like I took us way off topic. I mean, there's just it's such an old symbol that has so much meaning. I feel like I can't say anything about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's just, I don't know. And even looking at it, like I'm looking at different things that it says, and, a lot of it is about unity or 3, the number 3, and how 3 is, a powerful. Yeah, exactly. It is an ancient symbol of deity or the divine union. It's the strongest shape, which is the culmination of mind, body, and spirit, Father, Son, Holy Ghost. So, I just don't know. An equilateral triangle, the first triangle, equilateral, which was used in ancient civilizations and is the symbol of the deity. For Egyptians, the equilateral triangle symbolized the trowel, one of the most perfect of life. So I thought that was interesting. 3 being a magic, powerful number.
I feel like we need Faye Fire on here to talk about.
Hey, Faye Fire, we would love your thoughts on triangles. Yeah, we'd love to hear what you guys think. How are you feeling about the theory of the week and about there being a mole? What do you think about the title of the show, about triangles, or about anything else we talked about this episode? And I think that about covers it. I'm ready for episode 8. What about you?
Oh, I cannot wait. I want a tunnel visit.
Yes, I'm very excited to see what happens next.
Almost like a quest.
Like a quest. Another quest. I'm tired of quests. I don't want to be in the quest anymore.
Want to go home.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us again. If you're listening still, we appreciate you very, very much for listening to us go on and on with our conspiracy theories. And we hope you'll join in the conversation and come back for our next video. See what we've got to say about episode 8. So please subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment. And until next time, we'll see you then. Bye.
When I was just a little boy, I asked my father, what will I be? Will I be handsome? Will I be rich? Is what he said to me.